Years later, they crossed paths in an airport. Richard stammered an apology. Keisha regarded him coolly, then said, "You didn't ruin me, Mr. Blackwood. You reminded me why I exist. Every time someone underestimates me, I become more unforgettable." She walked away, her medals glinting under the lights. Richard finally understood. The true revenge of greatness is not to crush your enemies, but to rise so high that their smallness disappears beneath you. The cabin lights flickered as thunder rolled outside, shaking the Boeing 747 like a toy caught in a giant's hand. Passengers screamed, prayed, or clutched loved ones. The storm was one of the worst the North Atlantic had seen in decades. Then a trembling voice echoed through the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a serious medical emergency. Captain Mitchell is unconscious. This is First Officer James Wilson. I need immediate assistance from anyone with combat aviation experience." The words silenced the cabin. No one moved. In row 23C, Keisha Washington slowly opened her eyes. At 34, Keisha had learned to sleep anywhere. Foxholes, carriers, the back of transports. Tonight, though, something in Wilson's desperate voice cut through her exhaustion like a knife. Beside her, a businessman named Richard Blackwood adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses and muttered, as if anyone qualified would be traveling in economy class. His gaze slid dismissively over Keisha. Jeans, simple blouse, natural hair pulled into a ponytail. The aircraft lurched violently. Children cried. Some passengers fumbled with phones, recording shaky goodbyes. Richard puffed up his chest and shouted toward the cockpit. "My brother-in-law's a private pilot. I've flown dozens of times. I can help." A flight attendant rushed over, her face taut. "Sir, we need military experience. Civilian hours won't cut it." "Are you doubting me?" Richard roared. "I paid $15,000 for first class. I have more experience than anyone else here." That was when Keisha stood. She didn't argue or posture, just moved with the precise calm of someone used to storms far worse than weather. "Excuse me," she said evenly to the attendant. "Colonel Keisha Washington, U.S. Air Force. Over 500 hours in F-22 Raptors. Expert in extreme condition navigation." The silence was thunderous. Richard's jaw fell open. "You've got to be kidding." But in Keisha's eyes was a steadiness that made the attendant step aside. James Wilson appeared at the cockpit door, pale and sweating. "Please," he begged. "I can't do this alone." Richard scoffed. "Credentials or she doesn't touch the controls." Keisha answered without hesitation. She recited emergency procedures flawlessly, line after line of technical detail rolling off her tongue, the kind only a combat pilot would know. The storm roared outside, but the cabin itself fell dead quiet. James's shoulders sagged in relief. "Colonel, the cockpit is yours." Richard's protests were drowned by the sudden dive of the aircraft, screams filling the cabin. Keisha never flinched, bracing against the turbulence as if the plane were an extension of her own body. She slipped into the cockpit and surveyed the chaos. Captain Mitchell convulsed violently, foam on his lips. Instruments blared. James's hands shook over the controls, useless. "First aid now," Keisha commanded, snapping him into action. She stabilized the captain, then adjusted the aircraft's trim without missing a beat. "How do you know medicine?" James stammered. 10 years flying rescue missions," she replied. "When you're the only thing between a soldier and death, you learn fast." In the cabin, Richard sneered louder to anyone who would listen. "She's dressed like a tourist. She's going to get us killed." But his wife's patience snapped. "Richard, shut up. For once in your life, shut up." The intercom crackled. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Colonel Washington. I'll be taking command of this aircraft. Remain calm and follow all instructions." Even Richard shivered at the authority in her voice. Keisha worked the storm like an artist. She didn't fight it. She read it, threading the massive 747 through invisible tunnels of unstable air. When James protested her unorthodox maneuvers, she only smiled faintly. "Sometimes the rules save lives," she told him. But sometimes knowing which rules to break is the only thing that does. Then came the radio call. Andrews Air Force Base confirmed her identity. "Spectre? Is that you?" A commander's voice gasped. "You're a legend. We've mobilized the entire East Coast for your landing." The cabin gasped when the words "legend" and "Spectre" echoed through the speakers. Richard went white as chalk. For the next hour, Keisha performed maneuvers no manual dared describe. Controlled spirals through the storm's eye, rapid descents through wind shear, stabilizing a 400-ton aircraft as if she were guiding a fighter jet. Lightning flashed so close it seemed to strike the wings. Yet the plane never faltered. Finally, Dover Air Force Base cleared her for an emergency landing. Fire trucks lined the runway. Foam sprayed across the asphalt. "Brace!" Keisha ordered calmly. The wheels slammed down. Metal screamed. Sparks flew. Then silence, followed by cheers erupting across the cabin. Against every odd, she had brought 312 souls home. Months later, Keisha was promoted to Brigadier General, the youngest black woman in U.S. history to do so. Her storm navigation became standard training worldwide. Universities established chairs in her name. James became a captain, always crediting her as the reason he never quit. Dr. Patricia Chun co-authored a groundbreaking paper with her. Richard, his arrogance had gone viral. Clients abandoned him. His wife left. He sold used cars now, every morning forced to walk past a towering billboard of Keisha in uniform. Leadership has no color. It has character.